They are Korea's famously wealthy young bachelors. No matter where they go, they're always surrounded by admirers. The eldest, Hyun-min, is affectionate toward every woman. The second, Ji-woon, is naturally a loner and calm under pressure. The youngest, Seo-woo, is a highly creative singer-songwriter. He's consistent in his music studies. One day, all three brothers received something from their grandfather. The letter warned that if they didn't show up, their credit cards would be frozen. So the three of them returned home in their luxury cars, but to their surprise, it was the butler who was anxiously awaiting them. The butler handed each of them an envelope. Upon opening it, they discovered that their grandfather was getting married for the 38th time. As for the invitations, all three brothers declared they wouldn't attend. Only Hyun-min, the eldest, agreed to attend the wedding, and he was even preparing a grand gift for their grandfather. He walked into the living room and made a bet with his brothers. The first woman to walk through the door, he would take her to the wedding. Moments later, a girl wearing a delivery uniform walked in. The brothers laughed at him mockingly. The girl handed the food to the customer, but the customer gave her a hard time, saying he wanted the prettiest girl to deliver and refused to pay the delivery fee. Hyun-min tried to step in to help her, but in the next moment, he was stunned by the girl's fierce aura. The customer had no choice but to obediently apologize. Hyun-min was visibly impressed by her behavior. The girl's name was Ha-won. She lost her mother when she was very young. Her father remarried quickly and now she lived with her stepmother and stepsister. However, the two of them were unkind to her and constantly ordered her around at home. Even her sleeping spot was just the balcony. She had finally been accepted into her dream university. To come up with the 4 million won tuition, she worked 10 part-time jobs every week. One day, Hyun-min approached her and asked her to pretend to be his temporary girlfriend. In return, he would pay her 1 million won. But Ha-won didn't trust his words at all. She refused him. Hyun-min wrote his number on her hand and told her to call if she changed her mind. Ha-won thought she could earn her tuition by working hard. But the next day, when she went to visit her mother's resting place, she was told that the urn had been removed due to 5 years of unpaid storage fees. She begged the management to return the urn, and all of this was witnessed by Ji-woon, who had come to pay respects to his mother. Sitting alone at the bus stop, the usually optimistic and strong Ha-won finally broke down in tears. So, she went to find Hyun-min and agreed to be his temporary girlfriend. That decision would completely change her life. This was the most flirtatious chaebol grandfather I had ever seen. The woman kept saying, "No, no, I hate this." But deep down, she was already delighted. Before long, the old man married his 38th wife. But what she didn't expect was that his grandson would also show up at the wedding, bringing along a woman dressed in a wedding gown. Yes, that's right, Hyun-min had arrived. The bride gritted her teeth in frustration, clearly seeing that Hyun-min was only there to ruin the ceremony. Ha-won quickly apologized to everyone and urged Hyun-min to apologize to his grandfather as well. But Hyun-min, proud and stubborn, absolutely refused. Then something even more shocking happened. This wild and unruly playboy, Hyun-min, was publicly humbled by a girl. And no one saw it coming, because that girl was just someone he had hired for 1 million won to act as his temporary girlfriend. Yet somehow, that very same girl, Ha-won, caught the eye of the incredibly wealthy chairman of the conglomerate. The chairman ordered the family butler to investigate Ha-won's background. She had lost her mother at a young age and now lived with her stepmother and stepsister. Her father was a truck driver who was rarely home, often gone for months. Her family was far from well off, and Ha-won had to rely on part-time jobs to pay for school. After learning her situation, the chairman made a bold decision. He instructed the butler to bring Ha-won to the villa. Ha-won asked why the chairman had called her there. The chairman got straight to the point. He wanted her to move into Sky House and carry out a 3-month personality reform program for his 3 arrogant grandsons. In return, he would pay all of her university tuition and grant her any reasonable request. Ha-won was deeply moved, but she still refused. She felt she wasn't qualified to change others and didn't want to be treated like someone else's tool. Later, when she arrived at her part-time job at the convenience store, a swarm of reporters gathered outside asking whether she and Hyun-min were engaged. Ha-won was flustered and had no idea how to respond, but Hyun-min appeared just in time and escorted her away. On the street, Ha-won confronted him. "Because of your one lie, I can't live a normal life anymore." Hyun-min simply said, "Give me 5 minutes. I'll make all the news disappear." And just like that, the headlines vanished. Turns out, money really could do anything. With the situation handled, Ha-won stepped out of the car, only to receive a phone call telling her that her mother's urn had been taken away by her father. That night, when she got home, she asked her father why he took the urn. She had already paid 4 million won in storage fees. But the answer shocked her. Her father claimed that Ha-won's mother was not actually dead. Her stepmother jumped in, saying they had some savings that could send both girls to college. Only then did Ha-won realize how manipulative her stepmother really was. She shared how she had been working countless part-time jobs to pay her own tuition and had even been sleeping on the balcony, only for her father to accuse her of stirring up trouble. He slapped her across the face. She stood there, heartbroken. Ha-won, filled with despair, turned and walked out. Her stepmother tried to stop her and claimed her father was just talking nonsense out of anger. "Don't take it to heart," she said. But Ha-won couldn't take any more. She held onto her mother's urn and walked through the streets alone. She didn't know where to go or what to do. Just when she had lost all hope, the chairman called. Ha-won made her way to Sky House, where the butler had been waiting for a long time. Soon after, the 3 chaebol grandsons also arrived one by one. And so began the cohabitation story of Cinderella and the 4 knights. For the first time in her life, she experienced warmth and comfort. A skilled butler cooked her delicious meals, and she got to sleep in a large, clean bedroom. But still not used to it, Ha-won, who had grown accustomed to sleeping on a cramped balcony, dragged her blanket under the desk and said, "This feels more like home." When she woke up the next morning, a lavish breakfast had already been prepared for her. The butler told her to eat first. The 3 young masters never ate meals together. Looking at the feast on the table, Ha-won sighed at how luxurious the lives of the rich could be. Just then, the chairman called via video. After a quick greeting, he gave her her first mission, to get the 3 brothers to sit down and eat together. The butler brought out a contract. He explained, for every mission Ha-won completed, she would receive payment. The more difficult the task, the higher the bonus. But if she failed any mission, she would be forced to leave Sky House. And the most important rule of all, no falling in love was allowed. Ha-won thought, isn't it just having a meal with family? How hard could that be? But things weren't as simple as she had imagined. Although the 3 were brothers, their relationship had always been strained. Later, Butler Kim arrived at Ha-won's home to pick up her luggage. Her stepmother was stunned. He was the personal butler of Sky Group. She quickly switched to a welcoming smile, but Butler Kim remained completely indifferent. Her stepmother couldn't believe Ha-won was really moving into Sky House. As the butler prepared to leave with her bags, the stepmother called over her daughter and told her to make a good impression. The girl pretended to act cute and friendly, but the butler didn't even spare her a glance. Back at Sky House, the butler received a phone call and rushed off, accidentally leaving Ha-won's suitcase by the roadside. When Ha-won stepped out and saw it, she tripped and her entire suitcase fell into the water. Panicked, she jumped in and began fishing out her belongings one by one. Coincidentally, Hyun-min and Seo-woo were passing by and saw her. They were confused. Why was she digging through the trash? Ha-won explained that those were all her treasures. Seo-woo quickly grabbed a net to help and pulled her out. As he was about to retrieve the rest, Ji-woon walked over holding a white rose that had floated away. The flower triggered a memory. He remembered Ha-won holding the same kind of flower when she was visiting her mother's grave. Ha-won dragged her soaked suitcase back to her room. Just then, she noticed Ji-woon's shoes were also completely soaked. Seeing the flowers in his hands and his drenched shoes, Ha-won began to suspect that Ji-woon might have a hidden, softer side no one knew about. The next morning, she went to wake Hyun-min. He was startled by her sudden appearance. She told him to get up and eat, but he replied that he never ate breakfast at home. So Ha-won raised her fist and threatened him until he reluctantly agreed. Next, she went to find Ji-woon, who was swimming. He claimed he couldn't come because he wasn't wearing swim trunks. But Ha-won returned with his phone and said, "If you want this back, come eat breakfast." Left with no choice, Ji-woon agreed. Finally, she went to find Seo. As soon as she mentioned breakfast, he agreed without hesitation. Ha-won personally cooked for them. Hyun-min arrived first but immediately started misbehaving, flirting and touching Ha-won. Then Seo-woo entered. Seeing Hyun-min there, he refused to sit at the same table. Just as things were getting awkward, Ji-woon also arrived. The moment the three of them were together, they began mocking each other, tensions flared, and the scene quickly descended into chaos. Ji-woon demanded his phone back, but Ha-won refused, so he suddenly pulled her into his arms and snatched it from her hands while she was distracted. And just like that, Ha-won's first plan had failed. But she wasn't discouraged. She quickly moved on to plan B. She asked the chef about each brother's favorite food, handpicked the finest ingredients, and began cooking in the living room. The scent of grilled meat wafted through the house, catching the attention of all three brothers. Unable to resist the aroma, the three came to the living room, lured by the delicious smell. Ha-won offered some meat to Seo-woo, asking if he wanted some. He stared at it but resisted temptation and walked back to his room. Hyun-min, watching butler Kim devour the grilled meat, was visibly drooling. "This is your favorite Michelin-grade steak," Ha-won said, urging him to sit and eat. But Hyun-min told her not to waste her energy and walked away. Finally, Ji-woon could no longer resist. He slowly approached the table. Ha-won wrapped a piece of grilled meat in lettuce, held it out, and gently offered it to him. He stared at it but resisted temptation and walked back to his room. Later, Hyun-min brought Ha-won to the restaurant for a meal. They just so happened to run into Ji-woon and Ji, who were also there. As soon as Hyun-min saw them, he turned to leave. To ease the tension, Ha-won grabbed his arm and urged him to stay and eat together. With Ji's approval, the four of them sat down. However, instead of lightening the mood, the atmosphere only became more awkward. It turned out that Ji and Hyun-min were childhood friends. She had liked Hyun-min since they were young, but never won his heart. He often used her as a tool to break up with other girlfriends. Every time she got hurt, Ji-woon, who secretly liked Ji, would quietly comfort her. Over the years, Ji remembered all of Hyun-min's preferences. She asked the waiter to cook the steak a little more well done for him. But Hyun-min showed no appreciation and coldly said, "I just won't eat it." Seeing how awkward things were getting, Ha-won tried to eat to ease the tension. But she accidentally knocked over her drink. Hyun-min immediately reached out and grabbed her hand, worried. Ji was stunned. It was the first time she had seen Hyun-min so concerned over a girl. Jin, seeing how upset Ji looked, felt a deep ache in his chest, but he didn't know what to do. While Ha-won and Hyun-min were in the restroom, Ji took the chance to confirm something. She asked Hyun-min if Ha-won was really his fiancé. After hearing him confirm it, Ji walked away in disappointment. When Ji-woon returned and found Ji missing, he quickly chased after her. Just then, a speeding truck came barreling down the road. Ji-woon threw himself in front of her to protect her. He yelled at her, "What do you want? What are you trying to do?" Ji cried, "If I can't have Hyun-min, I might as well die." At that moment, a bold idea formed in Ji-woon's mind. He returned to Ha-won and, from behind, whispered something in her ear. At first, Ha-won thought it was Hyun-min playing a prank again. But when she turned and saw it was Ji-woon, she was startled. She tried to break free, but Ji-woon was too strong. Coincidentally, Hyun-min saw this scene from a distance. Right then, Ji-woon, in front of his brother, declared, "I'm going to steal your fiancé." Hyun-min, hearing this, grabbed Ji-woon's collar in anger, staking his claim over Ha-won. At that moment, fireworks lit up the sky. It turned out Seo-woo had discovered that it was Ha-won's birthday, so he and the butler secretly prepared a surprise party. The three brothers, for once, sat down together to celebrate her birthday. To commemorate the moment, Ha-won took out her phone and took a group photo. Smiling mischievously, she told them, "Actually, today isn't my birthday." Hearing this, Ji-woon stood up and left immediately. But it didn't matter, because Ha-won had successfully completed the chairman's first mission, getting the three brothers to sit together and take their first family photo. As a reward, the chairman gave Ha-won a full year's tuition and a bonus. She tried to decline, but he told her that amount was nothing to him. With the money in hand, Ha-won returned her mother's ashes to their proper place. She made a silent promise, I will fulfill your dream, Mum. I'll become an outstanding university student. When she returned home, she saw the housekeeper preparing food. She thought it was someone's birthday again. But the housekeeper explained, in a few days, it's the memorial day for the chairman's late son. Every year, we prepare food in advance. She also told Hyun, every year, none of the chairman's 3 grandsons ever attended the memorial. Even the butler tried to ask for their participation this year. But once again, he was flatly rejected. Hyun, witnessing this, went to the chairman and volunteered. Let me handle this mission. Seeing how confident Hyun was, the chairman nodded in agreement. So, Hyun began trying to persuade the 3 brothers one by one. But each attempt failed. In truth, each of them missed their father deeply, but they all had different emotional blocks they couldn't express. Soon, the memorial day arrived. Hyun waited early outside the house, but there was still no sign of the 3 brothers. Just as she was about to give up, Seo-woo's car suddenly appeared. Right after that, Hyun-min also arrived. Hyun thought for sure Ji-woon would come too, but at the final moment, he still didn't show up. Disappointed, Hyun apologized to the chairman. The butler came to comfort Hyun, saying it was already impressive that Hyun-min and Seo-woo came. If Ji-woon had shown up, it would have been a miracle. But just then, the head monk told the butler, Ji-woon had actually come early that morning to pay his respects. The message left in front of the photo was from him. The butler reported this to the chairman. At that moment, Hyun was packing her things. As she got ready, memories of living together with the 3 brothers flashed through her mind. Unwilling to leave without a word, she left them each a personal note before pulling her suitcase and walking out. But just as she left, ever since Hyun moved into the mansion, Hyun's stepmother and her daughter had been holding a grudge against her. Posing as her family, the mother-daughter duo arrived at Sky House under the guise of a visit. But the visit was a ruse. They were actually there to snoop around and possibly stir trouble for Hyun. Hyun's stepsister entered Hyun's room and began to casually mess with her belongings. That's when she spotted Hyun's morning clothes. Sneering, she made a sarcastic comment about whether Hyun would be messing with people again that night. Without hesitation, she threw the morning clothes to the ground and stomped on them. Still not satisfied, she grabbed a bottle of ink to ruin them further. At that moment, Butler Kim caught Hyun's stepmother lurking around. He demanded to know who had invited the mother and daughter, but the woman arrogantly claimed they didn't need an invitation because they were Hyun's sister and mother, therefore, honored guests. I'm sorry, but our guest here is only Hyun herself. As they were kicked out, unwilling to let things go, Hyun's stepsister began spreading malicious rumors online about Hyun, even uploading photos of the mansion to make it believable. Meanwhile, after leaving Sky House, Hyun went to her best friend Ji-young's place, asking if she could stay the night. But Ji-young told her that the house was cramped and she could only offer Hyun a spot next to her grandpa. Just then, Ji walked into the cafe. The moment the two saw each other, they froze. Seeing that they knew each other, Ji-young wasted no time and handed Hyun over to Ji. Feeling sorry for her, Ji let Hyun stay the night. At her home, Hyun noticed a childhood photo of Ji with Hyun-min. Ji quickly snatched the photo back. Anytime Hyun-min was mentioned, Ji's face lit up with affection. Seeing how much Ji still liked Hyun-min, Hyun decided to be honest. She said, I'm not Hyun-min's fiancé. We were only in a contract relationship. Living at Sky House was just to complete the chairman's task. But now, it's all over. Hearing this, Ji was stunned. That night, as they were going to bed, Hyun told Ji that tomorrow was her graduation ceremony, but she didn't have any family attending. Ji promised to go with her. Hyun was touched and smiled brightly. The next day, the fake news about Hyun spread like wildfire on campus. Classmates pointed and whispered, but Hyun was completely unaware. Seeing other students surrounded by family made her start to hope. But her father still hadn't replied to her messages. She was crushed. What she didn't know was, the 3 heirs of the Chable family were on their way to her school, planning to give her an unforgettable graduation. Meanwhile, in a classroom, a group of students were bullying a girl. She tried to resist, but it was useless. Just then, Ji-woon arrived in time. Things were about to get violent, so he stepped in, shielding Ha-won with his coat. As they tried to leave, the bullies followed. Ji-woon stood protectively in front of Ha-won. Suddenly, Hyun-min showed up. He told Ji-woon, "If money can solve the problem, don't use your fists." Then he pulled out a luxury car key and offered it to the bully. The guy didn't believe him. So Hyun-min tossed the key out the window without hesitation. Later, Hyun-min brought Ha-won to the broadcasting room to formally confess his feelings. Arrogant as always, he thought she would definitely accept him. But the answer he got was no. Everything seemed to fall into place, but the entire confession had been broadcast live. Everyone who saw it was shocked. As Hyun-min walked down the street, passers-by gave him strange looks. He pulled out his phone and saw the video of his rejected confession had gone viral. Embarrassed beyond belief, he rushed into an internet cafe and saw himself trending. People online were calling him the arrogant rich loser. He was mortified and wanted to disappear. So he went to a plastic surgeon, asking for a new face. But the doctor advised, "Let your hair grow out and maybe go see a psychologist first." Meanwhile, everyone at Sky House was waiting for Ha-won to come back. In their hearts, they had already treated her as part of the family. At that moment, Ji-woon thought of a place and drove to a convenience store. Sure enough, Ha-won was there. But as he entered, he heard her crying, saying she couldn't fulfill her mother's dream because she had been kicked out of Changti Pavilion and couldn't save enough for her university tuition. Ji-woon understood how hard things had been for her, so he told her to come home. Ha-won was confused. Ji-woon explained that the mission the chairman gave her was already completed. He had attended the memorial. Upon hearing that, Ha-won smiled with happiness. After returning home, Ha-won saw Hyun-min squatting on the ground like a 3-year-old. She tried to talk to him, but he barely responded and kept counting to himself. When he woke up again, he was shocked to find himself on a plane. He clearly remembered sleeping in a large bed the night before and thought he must be dreaming, hoping to wake up soon. But the flight crew said nothing and just pinned him to the seat. It turned out that after returning to Changti Pavilion, Ha-won had been given travel tickets by the chairman so she could go on vacation with friends. Without hesitation, she chose to go with the 3 brothers. She quickly convinced Ji-woon and Seo-woo, but Hyun-min, due to the trauma from his failed confession, refused. Then Ha-won remembered what butler Kim had once said. Once Hyun-min fell asleep, not even carrying him away would wake him. She later also invited her friends Hae-ji and So-young to join them. After arriving at the destination, Ha-won prepared tickets for activities, but no one was interested, so she enjoyed them alone. Ji-woon came over, and upon learning Ha-won didn't know how to ride horses, he took her to ride together. Afterwards, Ha-won realized her mother's necklace was missing. The two searched for it together, and eventually Ji-woon found it. When he pulled it out, Ha-won excitedly pounced on him, knocking him over. The moment turned a bit romantic, but within seconds, they both jumped up awkwardly. Ji-woon, feeling flustered, used cold water to calm himself down. Just then Hyun-min walked in. Ji-woon chatted briefly with him and left, but realized afterward that he had left his phone behind and returned to get it. At that moment, Ha-won was in the bathroom washing up. Ji-woon thought it was Hyun-min inside and opened the door, only to get hit in the head by a bar of soap. He angrily asked why he was hit, but froze when he heard Ha-won's voice, then awkwardly ran away. After her shower, Ha-won also started feeling flustered. Ji-woon told her there was chilled milk in the fridge to help cool down. She grabbed a bottle and drank it down in big gulps, but within a few minutes, her face turned red and she started acting drunk. Fueled by alcohol, everyone gathered to play Truth or Dare. The 3 brothers, who had always been distant, began bonding thanks to Ha-won. Just as things were heating up, butler Kim suddenly interrupted and ended the game. Late that night, Hae-ji couldn't sleep and went to walk in the park. She saw Hyun-min sitting there too. She recalled how, as children, they'd come to this park when they couldn't sleep, and even their names were carved on the bench. Deeply in love with Hyun-min, Hae-ji leaned in and kissed him, and this time, Hyun-min didn't pull away. Never get drunk in front of someone you like. Otherwise, you might end up like Ji-woon. Drunk, he confessed to Ha-won and even made a heart gesture at her. Pushed by the alcohol, the two ended up kissing. The next morning, Ha-won saw Hyun-min lying on the floor and instantly remembered what had happened the night before. She was both happy and embarrassed, hitting herself on the head, telling herself to stop overthinking. But she accidentally stepped on the soap again, causing a loud crash that echoed throughout the entire villa. When everyone rushed in, Hyun was already collapsed on the ground. The trip was cut short. After returning from the hospital to Changti Pavilion, the three brothers all tried to help take care of her, but Hyun ended up asking butler Kim for a crutch and hopped her way back to her room. Soon after, she went to speak privately with Ji-woon, wanting to clarify what happened the previous night. Ji-woon told her that he doesn't remember anything. Hyun stared at him with curiosity, seeming a little disappointed. Then Ji-woon asked her, "What about you?" Hyun replied that she had gotten a concussion from the fall and couldn't remember anything. That evening, Ji came to visit Hyun. Since Hyun hadn't washed her hair in several days, she wanted to tidy herself up a bit, but ended up creating a hilariously awkward scene. Ji-woon burst into laughter when he saw it and couldn't stop crying and laughing. Afterward, Ji-woon gently helped Hyun out of the bathtub and even thoughtfully dried her hair for her. A man this considerate and rare, perhaps only Ji-woon could compare. After drying her off with a towel, perhaps a bit too vigorously, Hyun accidentally touched Ji-woon's hand. Flustered, Ji-woon walked away. As he stepped out, he found Ji in tears. It turned out that while Hyun was unaware, Ji had gone to find Hyun-min to clarify their relationship. But Hyun-min coldly told her that there was nothing between them. He added that if Ji kept bringing it up, they might as well stop seeing each other. Crushed, Ji left heartbroken. When Ji-woon learned of this, he angrily confronted Hyun-min, demanding why he kept hurting Ji. Hyun-min retorted, asking what right Ji-woon had to interfere. Hearing this, Ji stepped forward and stood between them. She turned to Ji-woon and paused. But just when it seemed like she might hold back, Ji confessed his feelings for Ji-woon right in front of Hyun-min. Hyun-min left silently, his heart complicated. In truth, he did have feelings for Ji, but every time they met, he always acted coldly. Ji told Ji-woon not to feel pressured to respond immediately. He could take his time and let him know later. Then, with a heavy heart, Ji walked away. Back inside, Hyun stopped Ji-woon and returned the watch he had left behind. Trying to stay composed, Hyun congratulated him and said, "So, you two are officially dating now, huh?" Then she went back to her room, holding back her sadness. She confided in her best friend, who advised her, if someone's been in unrequited love for too long, they might eventually fall for someone else. Hyun thought deeply. Aside from Ji, the only one who'd always been near Ji-woon was herself. This reminded her again of the night something intimate had happened between them. Later, Hyun read online that if you want to know whether a guy likes you, observe if he gets mad no matter what you do. So, she began testing Ji-woon with little provocations. When Ji-woon passed by, Hyun tossed a book his way. Ji-woon, thinking it was an accident, let it go. Next, while Ji-woon was drinking something, Hyun deliberately bumped into him, spilling the drink all over. Ji-woon scolded her. Finally, Hyun snuck into Ji-woon's secret room and messed up his clothes and belongings. When Ji-woon walked in and saw the chaos, he exploded in anger. Storming into Hyun's room, he demanded, "Why did you do that?" Hyun, with a pitiful expression, replied, "Is this how you treat a sick person?" Just then, she noticed something Ji-woon had brought. A basket of bread, the kind Hyun loved. Despite the situation, she couldn't hide her joy. The next day, Ji-woon took her out for a drive. They went to a scenic spot, and Ji-woon even drank from the same bottle Hyun had used. That small gesture brought back memories of that night. Hyun felt her heart heating up. Jun suddenly pulled her close and asked if she had something to say. Just as Hyun was about to speak, Ji-woon received a call from Ji. He said he'd be right there. On the way, Hyun told Ji-woon to drop her off by the road. She'd take a taxi back so Ji-woon could go to Ji. When Ji-woon arrived, Ji explained that her father's company had collapsed, and their home had been seized by the court. Now, she had nowhere to go. Jun comforted her and promised everything would be okay. At that moment, Hyun-min noticed that he had 2 missed calls from Ji. Proudly, he told himself he had planned to answer on the 3rd ring. But just then he received a call with shocking news. Ji's family had gone bankrupt. Alarmed, Hyun-min tried calling Ji back, but his phone was turned off. As Hyun-min rushed to leave, he ran into Ha-won, who had just returned. Hyun-min was about to explain his reason for leaving when Ji-woon drove up, and Hae-ji got out of the car with him. Hyun-min was about to ask what was going on when Ji-woon made a major announcement. Life at Cheongdang residence began to shift after Hae-ji moved in. With 2 women now living in the house, even when Seo-woo bumped into Hae-ji, things felt awkward. The housekeeper, while tidying up Hyun-min's closet, caught him blushing and retreating to his room. Even the typically cold Ji-woon had become noticeably softer and more considerate. The housekeeper commented that Hae-ji had a graceful femininity that brought a fresh energy into the home. Ha-won overheard this and felt uneasy. She, too, was a woman, yet the difference between herself and Hae-ji was stark. But upon witnessing Hae-ji's poise, she had to admit the housekeeper was right. Determined to close the gap, Ha-won began putting extra effort into her appearance. However, her change in demeanor made others think she was still upset. Embarrassed, Ha-won turned away shyly. Meanwhile, Hyun-min asked a friend to impersonate Hae-ji's father and even delivered a fake letter claiming to be from him. When Ji-woon gave the letter to Hae-ji at home, but Hae-ji firmly told him she didn't want to receive any more of his help. Seeing Hae-ji's resistance, Hyun-min gave the storage room key to Ji-woon, asking him to retrieve something on his behalf, and not to tell Hae-ji. Ji-woon took Hae-ji to pick up the item. He was about to reveal the truth behind the letter but got interrupted when Hae-ji invited him out for dinner. Ji-woon asked for instant noodles, which made Hae-ji visibly upset upon learning he often ate that with Ha-won. She began to sense his feelings for Ha-won weren't ordinary. Using the excuse of buying coffee, Ji-woon stepped out. When he saw White Day gifts at the store, he quietly bought one and slipped it into his bag. As the 2 returned home, they ran into Hyun-min and Ha-won. Hae-ji quickly explained that she and Ji-woon had just gone to pick something up. Hyun-min acted indifferent and went straight to his room, and Ha-won, without a word, turned and left too. Sensing Ha-won was still upset, Ji-woon went to find her and apologized for leaving her on the roadside that day. He wanted to give her the White Day gift but hesitated. Instead, he invited Ha-won out for a drive the next day, saying he had something important to tell her. Ha-won lit up like a child, thrilled at the invitation. However, the next day, Hae-ji told Ha-won that she and Ji-woon were going on a date. Ha-won was furious. Ji-woon had promised to take her out. She went looking for Ji-woon to get an explanation, only to see a gift in Ji-woon's hand. Believing it was meant for Hae-ji, Ha-won turned around angrily to leave. Ji-woon called after her and asked what was wrong. Ha-won snapped, telling him to stop doing things that led to misunderstandings, then stormed off. When she got back home, the housekeeper stopped her and said a man claiming to be her father had come to see her. Ha-won's heart jumped. She thought it might finally be her biological dad. But when she rushed over, she found a complete stranger. This stranger claimed to be Ha-won's birth father, who had been missing for 10 years. Although Ha-won had always known she was adopted, the sudden reunion overwhelmed her. She fled to her mother's memorial hall and broke down crying. Ji-woon found Ha-won there, alone and heartbroken. He comforted her, pulling her into a hug and telling her not to bottle everything up. Ji-woon shared that a year ago he had also been brought back by the chairman to fulfill the role of successor, but he had never met his own father either. He understood exactly how Ha-won was feeling. Ha-won was grateful Ji-woon was always there during her most difficult times. Ji-woon finally realized his true feelings and decided to talk with Hae-ji. Hae-ji was the first person to open up to him, so he had treated her kindly. But Hae-ji had misunderstood this as romantic interest. Ji-woon knew he was just a substitute for Hyun-min in Hae-ji's heart. Hyun-min held a place in Hae-ji's heart that no one could replace. Hae-ji, feeling lost, ended up in a bar drinking. A man approached to drink with her, and this scene was seen by Hyun-min's friend, who then told Hyun-min. Furious, Hyun-min hung up the phone. He couldn't face Hae-ji. As a child, Hyun-min had been with Hae-ji's brother when an accident happened. Ever since then, Hyun-min had carried guilt and didn't want to hurt people close to him. That's why he had always been distant from Hae-ji. But upon hearing Hae-ji was about to meet a strange man, he rushed to stop her. He criticized Hae-ji for making unreliable friends. Hae-ji got angry and asked her to pull over. Hyun-min went to a store, bought a can of beer, and drank it in front of Ji, saying he couldn't drive anymore, then forced himself into the passenger seat. What he didn't expect was that this would be Ji's first time driving after getting her license. They missed several turns and kept driving straight, while Hyun-min looked completely lifeless. Meanwhile, Ha-won remembered how she once misunderstood her relationship with fake father and decided to treat him to a meal. The fake father said he hadn't returned sooner because he wasn't doing well. Ha-won saw his ragged clothes and left to buy him a decent outfit. But when she came back, she saw the fake father rummaging through her bag. She couldn't believe her mother could have loved such a man. Just then, Ji-woon arrived with a paternity test. Seeing it, the fake father panicked. But Ha-won tore it up. She was certain this man was not her real father. Later, Ji-woon took Ha-won for a drive and gave her the Valentine's gift. When she opened it, it was empty. Ji-woon explained the gift wasn't meant for Ji, it was for her. The candy inside had melted, but his feelings for her had not. Shortly after marrying into wealth, this woman found herself ostracized over nothing more than a tie she bought. The chairman mistakenly believed it was meant for him, but when he discovered it was actually a shirt she'd selected, his expression darkened. Suspecting her of infidelity, he instructed the secretary to secretly monitor her. Unbeknownst to the chairman, the secretary is actually her biological son. During surveillance, he discovered she had met privately with the chairman's lawyer, who handed her the chairman's will. It turned out she intended to secure her son as the rightful heir of Chongti Group. The secretary demanded she stop immediately, but she argued her actions were for her son's future. She didn't want him struggling within the conglomerate. Initially torn, the secretary couldn't support her, but his heart softened when he followed her to an orphanage. He saw her buying essential supplies, and dozens of children calling her mom. Every week, she'd visit, sharing maternal love she hadn't given her own child. Still, none of them replaced her biological son in her heart. On their way home, she offered the secretary the tie she had intended for the chairman, but he refused. Meanwhile, Ha-won's father received a call demanding hush money to find the fake father named Young-jin. He realized his wife had secretly sought out Young-jin. When confronted, Young-jin revealed he'd simply been helping her start a business. They had no affairs. He recounted the tragic day when Ha-won's mother died saving a neighbor during an apartment fire. The neighbor's child had given Ha-won a ring to pass along to her son, a gesture that led Ha-won's father to regret his behavior and apologize to Ha-won, promising to care for them both. Only later did he find out Ha-won's stepmother and stepsister had bullied her, and he promised he would unite them as a real family. Not long after, the chairman unexpectedly discovered Ha-won and Ji-woon in a romantic moment. Approaching Ha-won, he gave her two choices: accept money and leave the residence, or stay with Ji-woon. Upon hearing that, Ha-won was momentarily stunned, unsure of how to respond. As she walked away, the chairman was reminded of the time he drove away Ji-woon's biological mother. After Ji-woon's mother passed away, Ji-woon's father had blamed the chairman for always manipulating relationships with money. Ji-woon's father left the Chongti Group and soon took his own life. Looking at the ring his son had left behind, the chairman thought of Ji-woon, who had once accused him of trying to control everything with wealth. The chairman walked over to the secretary's desk and noticed the tie that his wife had bought on that day. His emotions swelled all over again. Later, the secretary agreed to have dinner with his mother. She held his hand gratefully, happy that he was finally willing to accept her. However, this touching moment was witnessed by the chairman, who had secretly followed the secretary. Shocked, he experienced a sudden health episode due to the emotional stress. Just as Ha-won was packing to leave, she received news that the chairman had been hospitalized. Meanwhile, Ji-woon discovered an old, dusty photo album in a corner. When he opened it, he found pictures of his parents from when they were alive. That's when he realized his mother had once lived in the Chongti residence too. Ji-woon decided to confront his grandfather, but before he could, the secretary called and informed him of the chairman's hospitalization. Ha-won rushed to the hospital, blaming herself for the chairman's condition. She said that if not for her relationship with Ji-woon, he wouldn't have collapsed. Taking advantage of the situation, the madam pinned the blame on Ha-won. She told her that the chairman had a rare form of anemia and was awaiting a liver transplant. The madam urged her to quietly leave the Chongti residence and not tell anyone what happened. She promised to take care of the chairman in her stead. Heartbroken, Ha-won left the hospital, passing by Ji-woon, who was just arriving. The madam told Ji-woon that the chairman knew about their relationship and had forced Ha-won to choose between love and money. And Ha-won had chosen money. Distraught, Ji-woon returned home only to see Ha-won preparing to leave. Ha-won told him that she was just a temporary worker, and his feelings for her were too naive. She asked him to let her go. Ji-woon pleaded with her to stay. "If you walk away now," he said, "we'll never meet again." Still, Ha-won turned and left with tears in her eyes. Hyun-min and Seo-woo also arrived at the hospital and learned from the secretary about the chairman's condition. Hyun-min asked why his grandfather had collapsed, but the secretary said he didn't know either. The doctors suggested the brothers get tested to see if either could donate a liver. At the same time, the madam instructed the secretary to hide the truth. No one knew when the chairman would wake up. But the Chongti group needed leadership, and she planned to push the secretary into that role. The secretary stood in front of the chairman's office, remembering his past. Back then, his mother suffered constant domestic abuse. He had to hide outside the house just to breathe. Eventually, his mother abandoned him. As he grew up, he became a national taekwondo champion, driven by a single purpose: to protect what he held dear. With that memory in mind, the secretary made a silent decision in his heart. After being repeatedly neglected by Hyun-min, Hae-ji finally decided to leave Chongti residence. It was only after seeing Hae-ji's farewell message that Hyun-min regretted his actions. He frantically searched for Hae-ji and finally found her at their favorite amusement park. This place was full of memories, the same place where, as a child, Hyun-min had once proposed to Hae-ji. Back then, Hae-ji had said, "Ask me again in 10 years. Now, 10 years later, Hae-ji told him, "Every time you disappear, I nearly go crazy missing you. And when we meet again, you're always so cold. It breaks my heart." But Hyun-min said he couldn't accept Hae-ji. He confessed that he had been there during the accident when Hae-ji's older brother died. Out of fear, he ran away instead of helping. Since then, he had believed himself too cowardly, too unworthy of Hae-ji. Hearing this, Hae-ji made the painful decision to walk away. Meanwhile, Ji-woon found the cafe his mother used to visit by recognizing it from an old photo. The owner, upon seeing the picture, dug up a collection of sticky notes left by past visitors. Among them, Ji-woon found a heartfelt note from his mother. Through these notes, he discovered that his own father was the one who had driven her away from Chongti Group years ago. Remembering the pain his mother endured, Ji-woon left the cafe full of anger. At that time, the deputy mayor told Hyun-min that his grandfather had fainted at a restaurant. The restaurant staff later called, saying they had his grandfather's lost phone. When Hyun-min went to retrieve it, the manager mentioned that the secretary and a woman were also there that day, but they mysteriously disappeared soon after. This made Hyun-min suspicious. When he returned to the company to confront the secretary, he was told that the secretary hadn't come to work. He called the secretary, who claimed to be at the office, but was actually with his mother, persuading her to transfer her shares to him. Once signed, the transfer would make him a major shareholder, enough to secure the Chongti Group inheritance. Meanwhile, Ha-won's father told her that the ring she always wore wasn't from her mother. It was given to her during the fire by Ji-woon's mother. Ha-won handed the ring to her father and told him to return it to its rightful owner. Later, Ha-won was approached by a former employee of Hyun-min, who said the only one who could now save the company was Ji-woon. He gave her a phone to deliver to Ji-woon, saying it contained important information about his father. Ha-won found Ji-woon at a car repair shop and gave him the phone. Though moved, Ji-woon didn't return home immediately. Ha-won pleaded with him, "You're your grandfather's last hope. If you have any resentment, confront him after saving him." At that same time, the secretary appeared at the shareholder meeting. While her husband lay unconscious in the hospital, Ji-woon's stepmother secretly collaborated with the group's chief of staff, attempting to seize the chairman's position of the Chongti Group. At the hospital, Hyun-min discovered the group's lawyer meeting with Ji-woon's stepmother inside his grandfather's room. They were discussing plans to hold a shareholder meeting to vote for the chairman's dismissal. After overhearing their conversation, Hyun-min went to confront the secretary, accusing him of being ruthless and doing anything for money. The secretary told Hyun-min, many people are now eyeing the chairman's position. But Hyun-min still didn't know how to protect Changti Group, and the secretary bluntly stated that he wasn't qualified to be its heir. Frustrated, Hyun-min declared that he would prove his ability to protect what matters most to him. Determined, Hyun-min and Seo-woo decided to fight back. They each met with shareholders from different departments, hoping that through their efforts, they could defend the Changti Group that their grandfather had worked so hard to build. For the first time, Hyun-min truly demonstrated the sense of responsibility a man should have. Meanwhile, at the hospital, the doctor told Ji-woon that his liver was a compatible match with his grandfather's and surgery could proceed. However, tests revealed that Ji-woon had an allergy to anesthesia. If he underwent full anesthesia, there was a risk he might not wake up. The decision was left to Ji-woon. Even knowing the risk, he chose to go through with the operation. At that moment, Ji-woon saw news on television. A shareholder vote to remove his grandfather as chairman was about to be held. He quickly handed over his shares to Hyun-min, entrusting him to protect their grandfather's position. Meanwhile, Hae-ji and Hyun-min meet again. He confesses that he truly loves her and can't bear to lose her. With that, the two share a passionate kiss. The next day, the shareholder meeting officially began. Votes were cast one after another. Hyun-min anxiously awaited the result. Finally, it was announced. The proposal to remove the chairman was rejected by 52% of votes. Hyun-min had succeeded in defending his grandfather's legacy. The madam accused the secretary of betrayal, but the secretary, unbothered, stood his ground. Back at the hospital, Ji-woon was taken into surgery. Partway through, he suffered an allergic reaction. Doctors rushed into the OR to resuscitate him. Like many romance dramas, it seemed that the male lead had fallen into a coma while saving someone dear to him. Ha-won stayed by Ji-woon's side, quietly watching over him. When the chairman woke up, he was told that Ji-woon had saved his life, but he didn't yet know that his grandson was now unconscious. Afterward, the secretary resigned from his position. Still unaware of the full truth, the chairman handed him divorce papers to deliver to the madam. The secretary told the chairman, "Everything my mother did was for me. I'll take responsibility and leave the Changti Group." Eventually, the chairman found out that Ji-woon had fallen into a coma. Saddened, he spoke with Ha-won. She told him she didn't care about money or her future, she only wanted to stay by Ji-woon's side. The chairman asked her, "If you were in urgent need of money, would you still give everything up for Ji-woon?" Watching Ha-won tenderly care for Ji-woon, the chairman's heart softened. Just as he was about to give her his blessing, Ha-won's foster mother showed up, saying her father had been in an accident caused by driving while exhausted, and the other party demanded 6 million won in settlement. She urged Ha-won to borrow money from someone at Changti Group. Ha-won was torn between love and family. In the end, she chose his father. Meanwhile, Ji-woon woke up from his coma, but couldn't find Ha-won anywhere. Not at the Changti residence, not at the hospital. He finally found her near her home. Ji-woon told her, "No matter your reason for avoiding me, I just want to be with you. Please don't leave." But Ha-won said she had only come to Changti for money. "I'm not right for you. We have no future," she said. "Don't ever look for me again." And she left, heartbroken. Ji-woon begged his grandfather to let them be together. "If not, I'll regret it forever. Just like Dad, who couldn't be with Mom and ended his life in pain. I don't want to repeat his mistake." The chairman listened in silence. In the end, he handed Ji-woon his father's ring and told him to give it to the woman he truly loved. When Ji-woon looked at the ring, he realized he had seen the exact same one before, on Ha-won's hand. She had said it was a keepsake from her mother. Even more shocking, both their mothers had died on the same day. Suspicious, Ji-woon called the adoption records office. To his surprise, someone else had also requested information. When they met, he discovered that it was Ha-won's father. It turned out that Ha-won's mother was once neighbors with Ji-woon's mother. The ring that Ha-won always wore was actually from Ji-woon's mother. She had passed it on to Ha-won's mother, who then gave it to Ha-won. Even more surprisingly, both families had once held funerals at the same hospital. Ji-woon suddenly recalled the little girl he had seen at his mother's funeral, The way Ha-won had bowed at her own mother's grave matched exactly. He also remembered that they had exchanged names as children. At that very moment, Ha-won finally sat down and shared a meal with her family. Her stepmother and stepsister began to treat her kindly for the first time. For once, they finally resembled a real family. Later, Ha-won's father told her that Ji-woon was actually the son of the woman who originally gave the ring. He encouraged her, "If you like him, go after him." Inspired, Ha-won put on the symbolic glass slippers, her high heels, and went to find the one she loved. Fate truly worked in mysterious ways. When the two met again, they brought out the name tags they had given each other as children. Finally, the two of them placed rings on each other's fingers, making a vow never to take them off again. Hyun-min, having learned everything the secretary had done for the Chongti group, invited the secretary to return to the company. Meanwhile, the chairman went back to the madam, offering her a bouquet of roses as a gesture to start over. Hyun-min and Hae-jin visited Hae-ji's older brother. Hyun-min promised earnestly, "I'll protect Hae-ji. I won't ever let her cry again." In the final scenes, Ha-won moved into the Chongti residence and began living peacefully with Ji-woon. And with that, the story of Cinderella and the Four Knights came to a close.
Footsteps fade, the echoes call, 1,000 dreams begin to fall. And it's over, it's over. The curtain's drawn, the story fades, but the feeling's strong.
Korean Netflix like, comment, and subscribe.